schools throughout New England. By Digital Federal Credit Union. See what DCU can save you. By the 2017 Kia Sportage. Visit anykiadealers.com to learn more. And by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. Back in Houston, time for the Red Sox lineup brought to you by buyatoyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. It'll be Mookie Betts to lead things off in right field. Dustin Pedroia at second base. David Ortiz, the DH, with Hanley Ramirez at first. Travis Shaw at third. Brock Holt at short. Xander Bogaerts out for the day after getting hit on the wrist last night. Chris Young is in left. Jackie Bradley in center. Christian Vasquez, the catcher, and batting ninth. The Astros starting pitcher brought to you by McDonald's. I'm loving it, and that is Mike Fiers. He's 1-1 with a 6.48 ERA. He is a strike thrower, won't walk many. Got his first win of the season last time out against Detroit.
Let's check out the Astros defensively, brought to you by DraftKings. Around the infield at third base, Valbuena, Correa, Altuve, and Gonzalez at first today. In the outfield, Rasmus back in left field, Gomez in center, and Springer in right. And the pitcher and catcher, Castro and Fiers.
The umpires are brought to you by ToyotaCertified.com. Search for your factory-backed Toyota Certified used vehicle right now. The crew chief is Tom Hallian behind the plate, along with Tony Randazzo, Dan Bellino, and Adam Hamari. Just a beautiful weather day as well.
Roof is open.
You know, they closed it about 30 minutes ago and then opened it back up again.
I thought it might be closed today because of heat. As far as I can remember, it seemed to me that the Diamondbacks ballpark was really the first ballpark built as a dome because of heat, not because of bad weather.
Mookie Betts takes one inside, ball one. What a night for Mookie last night. A great evening as he went 4 for 5 with 2 triples and a double, and he scored 3 times and drove in a run. And he broke their scoreboard. He was on the double. The shot up against the scores in left field. Had a chance at the cycle.
You can see early on here they're staying away from him, which is probably the way to go against Mookie. We know if you throw him anything middle in, he crushes it. But he's done such a great job to adjusting to the outer half of the plate too. He's not afraid to go the other way on you, as he did yesterday.
There's another rocket pulled into left field. Rasmus will chase that down, and Mookie's on again. And he is barreling up just about everything. Where available, this telecast can be heard in Spanish by selecting the SAP button on your TV remote. SAP presented by ToyotaCertified.com. Search for your factory-backed Toyota Certified used vehicle right now. It's good to know the factory has your back. The weather is perfect. It's brought to you by Benjamin Moore, the official paint of the Boston Red Sox. 84 degrees, as Steve mentioned, but sunshine and blue sky. They haven't had a whole lot of that lately here in Houston with all the flooding. First one to Dustin Pedroia is in there for a strike. Petey was 2 for 5 last night. One of 5 Red Sox who had at least 2 hits.
I want to see Mookie and how aggressive he is on the base paths today.
And thrown away. He's up and running, heading into second.
That's a beautiful thing right there. But that ball may have hit him.
And he is in some pain. And John Farrell is heading out along with a trainer.
I don't know if he maybe jammed something on the bag or the throw itself hit him.
Now they're looking at his hand. Xander Bogaerts already out of the lineup today after getting hit by a pitch. Take a look. He was able to get up and go. And you see a lot of guys who will wear batting gloves. Obviously, they take them off when they get there and they will hold on to them. And often that is because they don't want to jam a free finger up against the base.
We've seen that new contraption now too that almost looks like an oven mitt. Used to see Napoli wore one last year, and there are other guys around the big leagues that put one of those things on when they get on the bases. Mookie doesn't have anything, but again, it didn't look like he really jammed it all that bad on the base, but the throw was going through there at about the same time. He's going to stay in the game. Take one more look at it. The throw didn't hit him, so he just kind of jammed those fingers in on the base. That's the #1 reason a lot of coaches hate a head-first slide, but there's not really any way of getting around it if you're a base stealer and you're getting back to first base. You can't go back feet first.
Mookie was saying to John, I'm fine, I'm fine. Certainly hope so. So it'll be an error on the pitcher, fires, and Pedroia with an RBI chance here quickly.
Well, you mentioned it already, Dave, with Bogey sitting out a game because he got drilled yesterday, and now Mookie banging himself up on first base. You do not need those two guys out of the lineup for any extended period of time.
Well, the x-rays on the right wrist for Xander were negative, and he is sore. Red Sox are hoping he could play tomorrow. A ball on Pedroia.
This at-bat with Petey is starting to remind me of almost every at-bat in last night's game. These guys just spit on the pitches they didn't like and crushed the balls that were anywhere near the strike zone.
He just wears out Houston.
An unbelievable display of hitting in yesterday's game.
These cold hard facts are brought to you by Clean Crisp Coors Light. Dustin Pedroia with a .418 average in his career against the Astros. That's the highest for any opponent in Houston history with a minimum of 100 at bats. Well, in all, 9 current Red Sox hit .325 or higher against the Astros. That's at second. And fouled back with a big rip. And Ramirez, another guy who just eats him alive. Red Sox scoring 10 first inning runs over the last 3 games.
Yeah, Hanley 368. Second all time with anybody who has at least 200 at bats against the Astros. So a couple guys in this Red Sox lineup don't mind playing down here.
Brock Holt's another one. David Ortiz as well. They're being very careful with Pedroia here. Big Papi on deck. After he got his big hat presented to him yesterday, that black custom-made Stetson. You were very fond of it.
The Pinto Ranch Stetson. Loved it.
I'd pay to see you in one of those. 3-2. And he walked him.
That is a thing of beauty right there. When we go out through the rest of this day and think about what happened, that could end up being a big at bat. But right now it's just a harmless walk.
There's the big hat. A gift from the Houston Astros for David Ortiz yesterday. Otherwise, it was a quiet game 1 for David. He was 0 for 4 with a walk. But he has 2 men on. Betts at second, Pedroia at first, and the Red Sox at it again in the first inning. Not a lot of memories for Ortiz here in Houston, but he did belt a home run when the All-Star game was here in 2004 in one of his 9 All-Star selections. That was his first All-Star selection. And that's across for strike 1.
Well, Fiers has an MO out there. He likes to throw high riding 4-seam fastballs up and then throw changeups down. He's starting to throw a lot more sliders than he ever has. Kind of adding that to the arsenal.
Not a real hard thrower. And the breaking ball settles in. So that's strike 2.
Big overhand curveball. Settles into the top of the zone there for a strike. David didn't like it.
No, maybe wondering how big the plate's going to be today. Hanley Ramirez on deck, just getting started here in the first. Another one, but this one too high.
Fire's delivery reminds you of the old Iron Mike pitching machine. Those things that came right over the top. Throw those baseballs at you. He should be able to see the ball fairly well with him coming straight over the top like he does.
Play on at second, and a dive back by Mookie.
Easily back. Mookie might get himself another extra step for a lead.
Here's the 1-2 to Ortiz. Line shot, base hit toward the alley. That's going to score Mookie Betts. Pedroia down to third. It'll be an RBI single, and the Red Sox continue their trend of scoring quickly and lead it 1-0. Just like last night, the first three men reach base.
Look at this. This is what we talked about. Just a fastball, four seam right over the top. David says, thank you very much. I'm going to drill this one into the gap. Petey easily to third. Mookie had to hesitate just a little bit to make sure that ball was high enough to get up over Altuve's head, but a grounder might get over Altuve's head sometimes. You know, he's tiny over there.
5'6", yep. But also a Gold Glover. So first and third, and the batter will be Hanley Ramirez. 0 for 4 against Fires in his career. It's the only man in the lineup pretty much who has faced this guy. Oh, he really attacked on the first one and came up empty for strike one. Hanley had 2 hits and an RBI last night.
He was in a great mood before the game today. I talked to him a little bit. He said, can you feel it? I'm like, yeah, it's a little warm out here, but it's nice. He goes, no, I'm about to heat up. Can you feel it? I like it when he says things like that.
They're very confident. He should be a confident hitter. Former batting champ. And the 0-1. That drops in for a called strike. And again, only about 91 miles an hour. He has to be fine with his command.
Gets his share of strikeouts too, with the fastball hovering around 91. Best part about what he does mechanically is that his fastball and his changeup look exactly the same coming out of his hand.
0-2, and couldn't fool him on the breaking ball. Red Sox got another fine performance out of Stephen Wright last night. 6 2/3. Good long start. The Red Sox had to get 17 bullpen innings in the Tampa Bay series, which was way too many. So this was a welcome effort. Looking for another long one today from Clay Buchholz. Outside.
Good stop right there by Castro with Pedroia on third base. Those are the things that just never get talked about. Watch, this is a nasty pitch to try to block and stop. If it gets by you, a run scores. Poppy's on second base, but the only guy on the team that really ever acknowledges that is the other catcher on the team. Hey, good job out there. That way, Jason. He's the guy that knows how difficult it is.
Here's the 2-2 from Fires. Waved down and missed, and down he goes. So Hanley strikes out. One man gone.
Tough pitch to hit. That's the changeup we talked about. Same delivery. Good deception.
Travis Shaw about to step in, hitting .352 to lead the club. A homer and 8 runs batted in. He had 2 more hits last night, 2 for 4. A run in for the Red Sox. And ball one. Travis, part of a defense that is playing at a very high level. Red Sox are number 2 in fielding percentage in the American League, trailing only Kansas City. Fires really slows it down with men on base.
Well, the Red Sox have a guy like that as well. Clay Buchholz, known to slow things down quite a bit when
and
there's
David
base
Price
runners.
does too.
Yes, he does as well.
Clay with great success here in the state of Texas. That one hit gently toward third base. It's going to roll foul. Running in on the handle.
Both starting pitchers in this ball game have a no-hitter to their credit. Fiers got his last year against the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Pedroia at third base. David Ortiz at first base. David with an RBI single right off the bat to chase in Mookie Betts. The 2-1. Flared foul. He got a piece of it. Rockhold looking to bat here in the first inning. He's on deck. Had a lot of family members here last night. Clay Buchholz does today. A lot of native Texans on the Sox roster. The 2-2. He let it go, and a good eye there. 3-2.
I know Craig Kimbrell had about 25 members of his family and friends in one of the luxury suites yesterday, I believe, from Huntsville, Alabama. Technically not a Texas guy.
But welcome nonetheless.
And close to it.
3 balls, 2 strikes. And a payoff pitch. Cut on and missed. You're talking about the fact that Fiers can be a strikeout guy, and that's back-to-back Ks.
That's his MO right there. We talked about it a little bit earlier. He likes to climb the ladder, four-seam fastballs up, change-ups down. He got right here, goes same thing, the change-up there. Same pitch that he got Hanley out on after riding that four-seam fastball up in the zone to get you thinking about it.
Rockhold trying to bring in another run now. He was 1 for 4 with an RBI single last night. Little roller. Fiers gets to that, and he'll take it to the bag, and he'll get out of the inning. So the Red Sox got the first 3 men on. They wind up scoring one of those and take a 1-0 lead. And Clay Buchholz heading out to the mound. First, as we go to the bottom half of the first inning, up 1-0, with Clay Buchholz trying to pick up the win today. Tossed a terrific game his last time out, silencing the big bats of the Blue Jays over 6 2/3. No runs, 6 hits. And here's Altuve to lead it off as he stings a line drive over the leaping Shaw. He's on with a base hit going after the very first pitch. The Astros lineup is brought to you by your New England Chevy dealers. After Altuve, it's George Springer, Carlos Correa, their fine shortstop, then Colby Rasmus, Preston Tucker, the DH, Carlos Gomez in center, Marwin Gonzalez at first, Luis Valbuena at third base, and Jason Castro doing the catching and batting ninth. The Red Sox starting pitcher, presented by your New England Audi dealers, and it's Clay Buchholz, undefeated in 4 starts against Houston. Stevie's 3-0 with a 1.98 ERA.
Don't expect Altuve to stay at first base. One of the premier base stealing threats in the game today.
Springer hitting .275 with 4 homers. Into the dirt for a ball on the right fielder. And the former UConn star, first-round draft pick in 2011.
Out of New Britain, Connecticut. Formerly a farm team of the Red Sox.
Altuve with 7 stolen bases back in. In Clay's last start, while he was on the mound, the Red Sox turned 4 double plays and turned 5 in that game.
He had a good sinking, tailing fastball in that, and used it in situations like this.
2-0 on Springer. Fans here in Houston are antsy. They've lost 4 in a row. They sit at 5-12, tied with Minnesota for the worst record in the American League. There's been a lot of chatter on talk radio here about why they didn't go and get another frontline starter over the winter, and that's a big concern for them early. Strike. So a lot of eyes on this team and A.J. Hinch, their 41-year-old manager. After winning a wild card spot last year, expectations were sky high. They still are.
It's a good time to throw over for Buchholz right there, just to pay attention to Altuve. This is a good action pitch right here.
Here's the 2-1. Not running. 2-2.
Well, he's going for it all right there. Look at the way that Springer rolls over on that front foot. It looks painful. It looks like he could hurt himself. We'll show you that again in other at-bats, but does that almost every time he takes a big swing. That left foot rolls over.
Ground ball to short. Brock Holt keeps it on the infield. He'll hang on to it. It's going to be a base hit for Springer. That'll put runners at first and second for Correa.
Let's tell you about the Red Sox defense. It's brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Today's ball game. Around the infield shot, third. Holt is your shortstop today with Bogey out of the game. Pedroia and Ramirez rounds out the infield. In the outfield, because Holt's at short, you got Young in left, Bradley Jr. in center, and Mookie Betts in right. And of course the Texas native, Mr. Buchholz, pitching, and Vasquez catching.
Correa getting in. Let's go down to Garen Austin for an update on Xander Bogaerts. Garen.
Hey, thanks, Dave. As you guys have mentioned, Xander Bogaerts is out of the game today. I talked to Bogaerts before, and he said he's very sore and he has limited range of motion. He said he wasn't going to try to hit, but he was going to try to see how he felt throwing the ball. And manager John Farrell said he will be available on an emergency basis, and they'll reevaluate him tomorrow morning and hopefully get him in the lineup tomorrow night.
All right, Garen, thank you very much. Yeah, he's very sore after getting drilled on that wrist Initially, it looked like he might have taken a shot to the chin or somewhere up on that helmet. That was very scary. He was able to get out of the way, but it did catch him on the wrist. The Gregerson pitch. High pop foul. Out of play by Correa. And he is down 2 strikes. First and second for Houston. Red Sox ahead 1-0 in the first inning. Nice crowd here today. Why wouldn't you want to be here today?
You know, and I think one of the reasons too, maybe why this roof is open today too. They've had such bad weather, just a kind of a ray of sunshine here, just to bring hope to all the people that have had it so hard with the flooding down here.
0-2 check swing, throw down to first, and not in time. They are appealing to the first base umpire on Daza, but he said no swing. A ball and 2 strikes on Correa, who grew up in Puerto Rico, close to the Alomar family. Great friends, with a great baseball family. The 1-2 pitch. He would not offer. Vasquez with the stop. He gets the catch today. Ryan Hannigan put in a full night's work last night.
He did an outstanding job too.
Sure did.
I think he's getting a little more comfortable with what Stephen Wright throws up there, but he's not a guy that had a whole heck of a lot of experience with a knuckleball. Caught him a few times in spring training, and that was about it.
Two and 2 on Correa. Altuve at second, Springer at first, and nobody out. A little pop up. Holt has the play into shallow center. He did rule an infield fly there, so he is out.
Boy, what a good pitch. Dangerous pitch to throw if you miss, but watch him run this in on the hands of Correa, and you see Vasquez set up hard inside there. Get it in on those fists and just jams him right there. If you miss with that pitch, it's one of those situations where you tell your pitchers, if you miss, you better hit the guy, because you better miss inside. Because if you miss out over the plate, Correa puts it into the seats, and you're looking at a 3-run shot.
Kobe Rasmus, a hot hitter. He's already hit 5 home runs, but Clay Buchholz has had his number. He's just 3 for 23 against Buchholz with 8 strikeouts. No throw to second. Altuve diving back in. He was expecting someone to come over and cover. Nobody did. One nothing Red Sox in the first. And a breaking ball around the plate.
With the way teams shift these days, and you see where Holt is directly up the middle, which is a place where nobody generally plays. You're going to have to start coming up with a name for that position. Holt moves from shortstop over to the slot. Something, you know.
Right behind the bag. Outside again. Clay came into this game having pitched 32 2/3 innings against the Astros in his career, with 39 strikeouts and only 4 walks.
That's getting it done.
It is 2-0. Makes it 3-0. If he does that again, the bases would be loaded for their DH Preston Tucker.
We were hearing some great stories about Rasmus today and how he ended up here in Houston, and what were the things that attracted him most to playing here.
In for a strike.
And members of the organization were asking him if he liked playing in Toronto, and he said he didn't. They said, Toronto's great. Why would you not like it up there? And he gave his reasons, and people couldn't believe it, but they said He said no Waffle House. No Waffle House in Toronto. I got him in Houston. Guess he loves eating at the Waffle House.
Asked for time here. A.J. Hinch, the manager, when they got him, ran over to Waffle House and purchased a $100 gift card and brought it back to his locker. He put it at Rasmus' locker. He said, "Welcome to Houston." And he thought it was Christmas morning when he showed up his locker and he saw this $100 gift card. I don't think Waffle House sells $100 gift cards, but he talked him into it.
Can eat there for the rest of the year.
He loves it now. 3 balls, 1 strike. Hitters count for Rasmus. High pop up on the infield. That sun is out. Infield fly called and caught by Hanley Ramirez. So a couple of big pitches here for Clay Buchholz. He gets 2 tough hitters back to back.
Yeah, I mean, he's obviously throwing a few more pitches than he really wants to right now. He's up to 16 in the inning, but he is making a good pitch in hitter situations when he needs it. That ball just runs away from Rasmus a little bit, and I love the fact that Hanley Ramirez makes the play on this ball. Now, that's his ball, but if Hanley didn't have the confidence to do that or wasn't feeling good at first base, Petey would have called him off and got him out of there. And Hanley said, "Nope, I'll do it."
So John Farrell hoping that his right-hander can get out of this mini jam without any runs being scored. Now lefty hitter in Tucker, the DH, 242 with 2 home runs, and he takes strike 1. I always thought watching Clay, if he can get that curveball established early, it's a very good sign for him.
Yeah, and he does things sometimes a little bit backwards. Most of the time you'll say establish a fastball. Figure out how to do that. We remember in his first start, he really couldn't establish anything. He's done so much better each time out. But I think you're right. If he gets that breaking ball over and the changeup, it could be a long day for the other team.
Popped up. There's Vasquez right there behind the plate, and he does get out of it with 3 pop-ups after giving a back-to-back singles. Clay Buchholz bearing down and gets out of the inning. After 1-0 Red Sox. A quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark on June 16. Visit NESN.com/survey during today's game for your chance to win. Dave O'Brien alongside Steve Lyons and Garen Austin as we go to the 2nd inning. Red Sox up 1-0. Chris Young in left field today. He'll lead off here against Mike Fiers. And then Jackie Bradley and then Christian Vasquez. Red Sox continuing that ability to score early. They got 2 in the first yesterday, another one today. Got 5 in the first on Thursday. 3 in the first inning against R.A. Dickey in the Toronto series. Got 3 against Baltimore in the first inning in one of the games, and 3 against Chris Archer. Young hitting 167, looking for his first home run of the year. And that'll miss for a ball, says Tom Hallion. The 3-1 pitch. A called strike. Yet another member of the Red Sox who likes to swing the bat in this ballpark. 3-2. And in there for strike 3. Caught him looking.
Tough pitch too. He works it back to a full count and then drops that nasty pitch on it to end it. It's hard to pull the trigger on a pitch like that. You don't want to hit it. You don't want to swing at it.
It's a good look for you.
Howdy, partner. When in Rome, right?
I suppose as Jackie Bradley gets in. Are you wearing this around town, like on the streets and everything?
I will be later. Go find myself a saloon where you can swing the doors open that way, right?
You can find that in Houston.
Yeah, I bet you can. Yep. Have a big old steak.
Keep the hat on the whole time.
Hey, I like the hat they gave him so much I went out and got myself one.
Yep. Not everyone can pull that off. I'm sure that's what they told you at the store.
Yeah, that's exactly what they told me. They said, hey, Dudley Do-Right, what are you doing?
Jackie hitting .240. No homers and 4 runs batted in. You actually do look downright Western in that thing.
You think?
I do.
Never really been a cowboy hat guy.
You may want to rethink that.
Steve, you get one for OB and I.
Well,
team first, Steve. Team first.
We all know that Guerin would look way better in this hat than any of us would be. We should have had her wear it.
Yep.
Perhaps somebody should bring it down and I could wear it.
There you go. It's on its way.
Got a Sox fan style in one. 2-2 is wide. Christian Vasquez on deck. Is that a fitted Stetson?
Well, it's not adjustable. That's what you know what the tough thing to do is wear your headsets at the same time with the old Stetson on.
Give you a lot of credit there. Bounding ball to the right side. Altuve with the play. 2 up and 2 down. No, you're doing it.
I just when you wear a hat like this, it just makes you feel like you should say howdy, ma'am, all the time to anybody that walks by, even if it's a guy.
Still trying to figure out if I want to see you in this the rest of the game.
I need some chaps, and, a little leather vest or something. I was inspired by the Pinto Ranch Stetson that Poppy got, so thought I'd try it out.
Vasquez takes one down low for a ball, hitting 176. Did not play last night. I mean, almost every guy in this crowd today owns one of those.
You would think. We saw a few of them in pregame with a guy, nice cowboy hat with a big Red Sox logo on the front, too.
Yeah, just had a shot of him. It's pretty sharp. Now, I'd want one of those.
It's pretty nice. Oh, we love this guy, too. Look at that mustache and beard.
That's the real deal.
He isn't messing around.
Line to right field, slicing into the corner. That one's sailing. It's going to be a foul ball. Vasquez nearly dropped it in there.
That takes some work right there. That's a lot of mustache wax.
They know how to wear hats in Texas.
Gotta keep that sun off your face, and there's a lot of it down here.
Red Sox had 1-0 here in the second inning. Mookie Betts waiting on deck. Appeared to jam an index finger while diving back to first base. Let's just say it looked like the Red Sox training staff may have straightened it out. Correa will scoop this one and throw. And that's a fast inning for the Red Sox. They go 1-2-3. We go to the bottom of the second in Houston. Sox up 1-0 on the Astros. Boston Red Sox baseball on NESN is brought to you by your New England Audi dealers. By T-Mobile. Get Major League coverage. T-Mobile has doubled its 4G LTE in the past year. And by buyatoyota.com, Toyota's website for deals. Dave O'Brien alongside Tex Lions for Game 2. Red Sox winners here last night. And with a victory today can win the series. Gomez struggling along at 211. He dropped down a bunt for a hit last night. And trying to bunt again. Did he offer at it? He did not, according to Randazzo at first base. So a ball outside.
That just can't be a good sign for a guy like Gomez, who tried to bunt with guys on first and second in their series against the Texas Rangers, did drop a bunt down yesterday, and is trying to bunt again. This is a guy that is expected to drive in runs.
Try to check. He did there. It's inside.
Homerless on the season so far, hitting right around 210.
Marwin Gonzalez on deck, and then Luis Valbuena, and then Jason Castro. And none of those four batters are hitting much over 200. That's across for a called strike. And that's a big reason for their scuffles. But more than anything else, it's their pitching at the bottom of the league.
Yeah, and that's something that nobody really would have expected, given the way they pitched last year. But you're right. You listen to the people around the ballpark, you turn on the radio, and they're like, well, what were we thinking? We were turning the corner as a ball club, but we needed some help. And another frontline starter would have been just the medicine. And they didn't do it.
3-2 on Gomez. Red Sox 1, Houston nothing here in the second. High pop up again. Boy, he's getting a lot of pop ups early. Holt into left and puts it away. Student Nines presented by Selfio has returned for the 2016 season. That means high school and college students can pick up tickets at Fenway for just $9. A great buy. For tickets and more information, visit redsox.com/students. That's 4 consecutive pop-up outs.
And it's being successful right now, but that's not the MO of a guy like Clay Buchholz. More of a ground ball guy, and fly ball pitchers don't fare well all that way in this ballpark. Ball jumps out of here if it gets in the air.
Certainly can to left and left center. In for a strike on Gonzalez. It's an interesting configuration here in Houston, because you've got Tal's Hill out there in center field, and that's the deep drive, 436, and that's with the flagpole in play.
Been a few balls that have hit that flagpole.
Runs up to bunt, drags up the first base line. That's a beauty. That's going to be a base hit for Gonzalez. That's as good as it gets there. So he becomes the first base runner in the second inning for Houston.
Trying to take advantage of the inexperience of a guy like Hanley Ramirez playing down at first base, but that ball just deadens nicely, slows down in the grass, and he runs right past it for the base hit. Nobody can make a play on that ball.
That's a great bunt. Now Valbuena, who is not a big fan of facing Clay Buchholz, just 3 for 12 against him. And another one with a low batting average and a donut next to the home run column. He hit 25 last year, so they need a lot more out of him. He pulls that one down the line. That's a shot, a fair ball. It'll get to the wall on one bounce. Gonzalez heading into third base and sliding in with a double at second base, Valbuena. So with 1 out, 2 men in scoring territory now for Houston.
A lot of these Astros going up there and jumping on the first pitch. That's just a fastball right out over. Good pitch to hit. Clay might be lucky that Valbuena didn't get that elevated a little more. Might have sailed out of this place, but a very hard hit ball down the line.
Ends up Jason Castro is doing the catching. Left-hand hitter who was drafted by the Red Sox in 2005 in the 43rd round, but he chose a scholarship to Stanford instead.
Smart move.
Well, he went on to star there. Ground ball, and that one snagged by Pedroia. The run will score as he throws to first base, and the tying run is in as Gonzalez crosses home plate down to third. Valbuena. So the Sox take the out.
Again, very aggressive. The book on Castro is to pound him hard inside. You see where they were set up for that play, but the ball didn't get in hard enough, and he just bounces it to the right side. Pedroia does a good job of getting that ball, looking to see if he had a play at home, realizing that he didn't, that he knew he had a ton of time just to throw the ball over to Hanley to get the out at first.
2 down. We're tied up 1-1. Here's Altuve, who ripped a single his first time up. The Astros 5-6 spark plug from Venezuela. He's put up back-to-back 200 hit seasons.
Signed with the Astros when he was 16 years old.
Now he's become quite a player. In many ways, he embodies for them what Dustin Pedroia does for the Red Sox.
Sure. Tremendous belief in his own ability. He went to a 2-day tryout and didn't do well. Got cut on the first day. Went home, and his dad said, forget that, you're going back. Sent him back to the camp. Ended up signing him after that.
He takes inside 2-1. Before the game, chatting with one of his idols, David Ortiz.
Looks like he's talking to the bat boy, saying, hey, if you just stay in school and play hard, maybe someday you'll be like Big Papi.
I think David's holding on, saying, how about some of those hits?
Yeah.
Will some of those rub off here?
Look out.
In tight. 3-1. Clay has not walked anybody. This is an Astro team that swings and misses a lot. But Altuve is a real contact man. Just 3 for 17, however, against Clay Buchholz. The 3-1. And that'll be a strike.
Pitch. This is a good spot right here, outer half of the plate. Strike all day long. It's just a high strike for him.
The 3-2 on the way. And in there, got him looking, strike 3. He got a tough hitter. He strikes out Altuve to freeze a runner at third. 1 run scores, and we're tied 1-1 going to the third. Dairy of the Boston Red Sox, serving New England communities for 170 years. Steve Lyons, Dave O'Brien, Garrett Austin with you. Top half of the third inning, tied 1-1. Mookie Betts will lead it off here against the right-hander Mike Fiers. Mookie singled and scored in the first inning. So that batting average continues to go up and up and up. And last night at the age of 23 became the youngest Red Sox to triple twice in a game since Dwight Evans in 1974. Another one shot out to right field, racing back Springer, and he'll snatch that one. Another one well struck by Betts.
And consciously trying to go that way. He saw the shift, saw a lot of guys on the left-hand side, and he thinks, hey, I can go the other way. I did yesterday, and I will. That could have been big trouble. Pull the hands in, go a little more inside out, drive that ball. Boy, that's a great shot of that.
An indicator that that finger he jammed is okay.
Yeah, and it makes you believe that his finger was probably slightly dislocated, because when you get a dislocated finger, it hurts like heck. But when you snap it back in, it feels pretty good now. Where if you jammed it or sprained it, it would still be hurting really bad. And it looked like it hurt him really, really bad for a while, and then they fixed it and he was done with it.
Toward the hole, Correa will bobble it. Should be a base hit anyway. And Pedroia is on for the second time in this one. And it will be a single for Dustin. I didn't think Correa had any chance to throw him out anyway.
Well, he's a fantastic athlete at shortstop, but the way Petey runs down the line every time, I mean, if you hit a ball like that in the hole, he's not going to be dogging it. He's flying down the line with an excellent chance of getting a hit, even if you do field it. This is the way you play the game. Watch him run down the line. He ran so fast, he ran right out of the picture.
He did. David Ortiz has an RBI single already today. He'll take ball one.
Here we're showing you Pedroia run down the line. Look at this. He runs like that when he hits a weak ground ball to the second baseman, too. It's the same thing every day.
Look, everybody should.
Like everybody should, and like you should learn how to play the game.
But no one will ever have to tell him. That's how you ought to do it. High fly left field. That hangs up for Rasmus. Pedroia back to first base, 2 out.
You know what the funny thing is, Dave, is that someone did have to tell him once. They said, Petey, this is the way you play the game. You hit the ball, you play hard, you run hard. This is the way you do it. And you never had to tell him again. Remember Ortiz in his last at-bat when he smoked that ball into the right field gap. Pedroia was on first base. Watch what Pedroia does. Checks to see where the ball's going. He hesitates not at all. Keeps going. Mookie on the other side around second base had to hesitate a little. He comes around to score. But because Pedroia was already on the move towards second base while assessing the situation, he easily went into third.
It's no easy thing to run inside that red, white, and blue circle. Kept in perfect stride.
I know. Those things can follow you, man.
Man.
Can't get out of them.
You've had some weekends like that.
It's the thing spinning around me that hurts.
Hanley Ramirez struck out in the first inning. 2 down, runner at first.
Hanley may be being enticed by that left field wall there. A couple pitches so far in his first couple of at-bats. He's really kind of pulling off the ball. Looking like he really wants to yank the ball down that left field line.
High and tight to make it 1-1. Hanley has always hit Houston well, going back to his Marlins and Dodger days. 368 lifetime against them.
That pitch by Fiers was just kind of a purpose pitch. Up and in, back him off the plate. Now they'll probably go down and away from him again and see if he's still pulling off the ball.
Fly into right field, pretty well hit, but Springer backs up to the track now, and he's there. And that's all for the Red Sox. No runs a hit, 1 man left here in the third inning. After 2.5 in Houston, Sox won and the Astros won. Ball on Nesson is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. You from inside Minute Maid Park here in downtown Houston, Texas. Great to have you along. It is 1-1 as we go to the last half of the third inning. Springer with a healthy wave as he goes down on one knee. He singled his first time up. Good power in that bat so far. 4 home runs for George. Tons of New England connections for Springer, of course, as he looks at a ball outside. From Connecticut. And he played for the Wareham Gatemen of the Cape Cod League in 2009.
Excellent genes in that family. His mother was a big-time gymnast. His father, I believe, played in the Little League World Series at one point. Athletic family.
Carlos Correa will follow, and then Colby Rasmus. So it's 2, 3, and 4 against Clay Buchholz.
Book on Springer, get ahead, and then climb the ladder on him.
Routinely hit to Brock Holt, who hoovers that up. One man is out. So I couldn't help but notice, Steve, that last time we took a look, you were wearing the big, 10-gallon hat, and now no longer.
Well, you can only play the part for so long. It's kind of. I don't look good in it. That's bottom line. You don't stay with something it's not working for you.
Well, what happened to the hat?
I gave it to someone who will look good in it.
Oh, you're right about that. Yeah.
Speak of the devil.
Much better than you, I will say that.
Well, thanks, Steve, for sending it down. I'm enjoying it.
Well, you know what? As I said before, when I see you wearing that hat, I just want to say, howdy, ma'am.
It's a great look for Guerin, actually.
Well, I'm not going to lie. I own several cowboy hats.
I'll bet. I'm not surprised.
How many pair of nice cowboy boots?
I don't own any. That's something I need to get next.
There you go. Got to match it up.
Yeah, like Guerin has to be a little taller.
Yeah, it is. It's a great look, though, I'll tell you. I think you should just go the rest of the day in the hat.
How about the rest of the time we're in Texas?
That would work.
Carlos Correa here. He's 0 for 1 with a pop to short. Buchholz putting it right on the corner. He did a great job getting out of a jam in the first inning with 3 consecutive pop-ups. Allowed 1 run in the second, has the leadoff man out here in the third inning, and a tough hitter here in Correa. Just a hair off the outside corner, according to Tom Hallion.
It's all right. That's a good pitch.
Working with Vasquez here this afternoon in the sun. Got him to wave and miss. 81 miles an hour with that changeup, and he struck him out.
Well, he really swung at the motion of Buchholz right there. Really gave you. Look at the delivery here. This looks like a fastball right out of his hand. Big delivery, big fall off the mound, and then the ball just doesn't get to you. Correa out front, out on that front foot. Look at him break down. That's not the way you want to finish.
DraftKings is the official one-day fantasy baseball partner of the Red Sox. Experience the thrill of playing on DraftKings right now. Play free daily using the promo code NESSON at DraftKings.com. Tied 1-1. Rasmus cuts and misses. He got the same pitch. The Sox continuing to lead Major League pitchers in strikeouts per 9 innings. And it's not just the starters. The starters and the relievers are averaging over 10 strikeouts a game per 9. So piling them up. Inside, a ball on Rasmus. Kimbrel worked last night. Koji available today. And the 1-1. Curveball popped up down the line, giving Chase Shaw, but he can't get to it.
Funny, too, when you look at those numbers and the strikeout efficiency for the entire staff, and yet the Red Sox still aren't a staff like you see these days with the big fireball arms. Guys, big power arms that are striking everybody out. Not a lot of those on this staff, including that guy right there. flipping up a knuckleball there at about 80 miles an hour.
It'll bring the average down a bit.
Yeah.
But good luck hitting it.
With the trend of all these guys that come out of the bullpen just throwing gas.
Well,
the Red Sox only have a couple of those guys.
Kimbrel certainly ramps that up. I think when Carson Smith gets healthy, and he's getting very close. I was talking to John Farrell about when he'll use him. It'll be 7th and 8th inning, depending on the situation and the matchup. But he said it's not a lefty-righty thing, because he's going to leave him in to face left-handers. He believes he can be just as nasty against them.
Sure. Well, he's got that devastating curveball or slider down and into lefties is a tough pitch to handle.
And John very excited about getting him back. And, of course, Eduardo Rodriguez. Three and two here on Rasmus. And down he goes hacking. So back-to-back strikeouts by Clay. Another changeup. Really had that dancing in that inning. He strikes out 2. Geico Red Sox moment honoring the '86 Red Sox season. Game number 17 of 1986. The Red Sox would beat Kansas City 6-1. Al Nipper with a complete game. Dwight Evans 3 for 5, and he scored twice for the Red Sox. And Steve Lyons saw it all from the bench. Travis Shaw takes a strike.
Just waiting for one of those to pop up one time that says, and Steve Lyons went 0 for 4.
Yeah, you can put it on there.
Yeah.
If you'd like.
I'd like them to find one where I actually had a good day.
Oh, I'm sure they're in there. That's a swing and a miss, according to the third base ump, Hamari. So Travis quickly in an 0-2 hole. He struck out in the first inning.
Man, I'll tell you, this Astro team shifts more than any team we've seen.
Ground ball, and he's going to let it go right to Altuve. The pitcher covers the bag for the out. So that play will go 4-1. And one away for the Sox in the fourth, and a 1-1 tie.
Now, to me, this will be interesting because we've seen them shift on Brock Holt before. I don't know if they'll continue to do that. Brock Holt uses the entire field more than any other Red Sox player they have. And look, they're all shifted to the right side. Brock Holt, when I've talked to him about hitting, says, I technically look to go inside out and hit the ball over the shortstop's head almost every at bat. Right now, there is no shortstop.
Well, against Houston, wherever they play him, he hits him. He's actually hit safely in 14 in a row against the Astros. At 377. 0 for 1 today with a comebacker.
5 for 16 lately overall.
Mom and dad and many family members have been here.
The rest of the Brock Star for lifers.
That's right. Born in Fort Worth, but started Rice University right here in Houston. He waves and misses there. Fans with Benjamin Moore, you can paint like no other. Go to benjaminmoore.com to find your nearest retailer. Chris Young on deck. Over the top and in there for strike 3 and got him looking. You could see where that motion can be tough to pick up.
Yeah, I think obviously repeating the delivery, and he's so tough when he's throwing his fastball up in the zone. That one's down in the zone, but likes to go up and with his fastball and then throw that same delivery and use the changeup out of that delivery. That's what makes it really difficult to pick up.
2 down. Chris Young struck out looking in the second inning. Fires tossed a no-hitter on August 21st last year against the Dodgers. First no-hitter in Minute Maid Park history, requiring 134 pitches. So he was out there all night.
Yeah.
As a keepsake for his no-hitter, the owner, Jim Crane, presented him with a watch, a Breitling watch, and a shadow box commemorating the achievement. The box included the lineup card from the game, the ball thrown for the last out, a ticket stub, and pictures of Fires celebrating the first no-hitter in 11 years for Houston. They had the watch engraved. Very classy gesture there. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Nobody on base, 2 down, 1-1 our score here in the 4th inning. Sox winners here last night. There's a shot, but foul. Tomorrow at 6, don't miss the Ultimate Red Sox show presented by AAA. A look back at Patriots Day at Fenway, plus catch the plays of the week. That and more tomorrow night at 6 on NESN. And fires home with a 2-2 offering. He struck him out looking, and Young not pleased at all, but back-to-back Ks by Fires. So this one developing into a pitcher's duel in Houston today, tied 1-1. May 10th, it's David Price bobblehead night at Fenway. The first 15,000 in attendance receive a David Price bobblehead courtesy of Nikon. And for tickets and more information, visit redsox.com/promos or call 877-RED SOX 9. Preston Tucker to lead off the bottom of the 4th inning. We're locked up 1-1. Clay Buchholz back to work. And another bunt attempt. They have either flirted with a bunt or dropped one down, as was the case with Gonzalez for a hit in the 2nd inning several times here.
Well, the shift invites a bunt a lot more often than what we used to see. And you can see that Buchholz, the only defender over there, and he's basically playing shortstop now. That is wide open. But what I find is that guys get too over anxious to drop down the bunt.
Pop foul back out of play. Let's face it, a lot of guys are not as good at bunting anymore.
And certainly it's a dying art, but it should become more prominent because of these shifts, and guys should work on it a little bit more. It is a gift base hit. If you bunt the ball hard enough down that third base line towards, just bunt it to third base. All you do is get it past the pitcher. You walk home.
Buchholz trying to make it 3 consecutive Ks. That's down and away. Clay outstanding in his last start against Toronto. Just 6 hits, no runs, 6 2/3. The bullpen did not lock it up, but he has come to Texas, his home state, with some momentum. That'll be popped up back toward the screen and up and over. Not much room between home plate and the netting here.
Hitters love that.
It's cozy.
A lot of times the shift is designed to get a hitter to do something he's not comfortable doing. Obviously, if you're shifting, he's a pull hitter. You're trying to get it into his head that maybe he should be trying to go the other way. He's not good at that. He'll try to take some inside out swings, strike out, pop up. So your shift worked even though you didn't do anything.
Popped up again, curling back over the screen. Clay Buchholz was an outstanding high school athlete here. He's a football star in high school. Clocked at 4.32 in the 40. He can still run. Swing and a miss. He gets another one. That is 3 consecutive Ks going back to the 3rd inning.
Well, he's got his breaking stuff and his changeup working really well today, and spotting that fastball to tease guys with it. But look at that. Thing just fell off a table right there at 85 miles an hour. That wasn't a changeup really.
Lexus is making a pledge to strike out hunger. For every strikeout by a Sox pitcher, Lexus donates $50 to the Greater Boston Food Bank. That'll bring up Carlos Gomez. He popped to short his first trip. He pops up again, but that'll go foul. Lots of pop-ups. Kind of off-balance swings against Buchholz these last couple of innings. So he's had him off stride. Here's the 0-1 pitch. High fly, left field, driving back Young. Plenty of space behind him. 2 down. Let's go down to Guerin.
Hey, thanks, OB. Since we've been talking about Texas, Clay Buchholz's hometown is actually about an hour away from here, and he has a lot of friends and family here today, including several former high school and college teammates. Buchholz said it's such an honor to put on the Boston Red Sox uniform, and to have the opportunity to do that so close to where he grew up is such an honor, guys.
Now some of his family, his dad right there in the middle. Dad follows all of his starts, follows the Red Sox very, very closely on television and radio.
He was looking a little nervous there too, wasn't he?
Marwin Gonzalez dropped on a bunt first time up. He's 1 for 1. But what a great thrill for a dad. And you've had the same experience, to come to a big league ballpark and watch your son play. You've been watching him since he was a toddler, you know, and here he is at the highest level you can do it. That has got to be an amazing throw for a family and a father.
For father and son.
0-1 is foul tipped at the plate. Lindsey Buchholz here as well. Clay's wife. Everybody enjoying the sunshine today here in Houston. Clay now 31 years old, looking to pick up his first win of the year. He was certainly deserving his last time out. Looking for a 1-2-3 inning. Could not sneak that one over the corner, inside for a ball. Dad wanted that one. How many times has he done that in his lifetime?
A million. Every pitch.
It's 1,000,001 now. That exact reaction.
That was a good pitch, though. That's where he wanted that. If you miss inside. Then you come back with that nastiness and go sit down.
Oh, he strikes out 2 more. He's got it rolling right now. 1-2-3. We're tied 1-1. Mason Extra Innings Live right after the game. TC Jim Rice will break it down. You'll hear from Clay Buchholz, who's really cooking right now. John Farrell, whatever, whenever, wherever, who but WB Mason. Clay has retired 8 in a row and 5 on the strikeout.
Look good doing it too. Mixing his pitches so well today, and as you talked about, when he has the changeup and breaking ball working, he's a tough guy. Swing and a miss by Jackie Bradley to get going in the 5th. Red Sox will attempt to get the offense rolling against Fiers. You know, for a guy who came to the big leagues with the reputation of being a fireballer like Buchholz used to be, who would run it up there 96, 97 miles an hour, he can't do that anymore because of age and injury. But he's using his fastball today almost as a decoy. He's just setting things up with his fastball, in and out, up and down, and then getting you with the changeup and breaking ball. Bradley is grounded to second, so 0 for 1 today. He had a double last night. He's another one who's had success against Houston. 10 for 29, a .345 average. These guys don't ever want to leave here. It started out well for the Red Sox. First 3 men got on base, and Mookie Betts would score on the base hit from David Ortiz. Fiers has been very tough since then and has allowed only an infield hit to Dustin Pedroia since.
High fly, right field. It hangs up. Springer will trot in a bit. One away. Fans, you can help NESN by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP NESN experience at the ballpark on June 16th. Visit NESN.com right now. NESN.com/survey during the game for your chance to win. I hope that experience includes meeting us, because we'd love to meet you.
That would be awesome. Come on up.
Or we'll come on down. We'll meet somewhere. Vasquez loops a foul out of play. And I guarantee you there are a lot of our viewers right now are like, I'd love to meet Steve Lyons, but only if he's wearing that 10-gallon hat.
Oh, that hat has been retired and moved to the rightful owner where it should be down there with Guerin. She's the one that should be wearing that hat, and it will never be back on this head. You admit defeat when someone else can wear it better than you can wear it. You give it up.
It did mess with your lid a little bit, your hair a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit. Can't mess it up.
Well, how important that is to you.
Yeah.
0-2. Mookie Betts on deck. Sox 1, Astros 1. Both pitchers going at it.
Thought you'd be sporting the old 10-gallon hat today.
Oh, my look to get it this, whatever, just to be on camera, this takes way too much time. But 6 different products in there.
I think a good-looking cowboy hat sometimes can cover up the evils, cover everything up.
Might be too much evil up here. 1-2. Fires split time between Milwaukee and Houston last year after trade in July. Out of Hollywood, Florida. And a 2-2. Line to right field. Springer backs up. And that's out number 2. He's been a busy guy out there in right.
A lot of people remember when Mike Stanton was hit in the jaw with the pitch. Certainly a scary moment. Mike fires through that pitch. He was as upset as you can be over that. Certainly was not intentional.
Mookie 1 for 2. He has singled and lined to right. He has scored the only Red Sox run after going 4 for 5 last night with 2 triples and a double. And a liner into left. Rasmus there to snatch that. It's a 1-2-3. Red Sox hit it hard a couple of times, but nothing to show for that. We go to the bottom of the 5th. We're tied 1-1. Best seats to the biggest games. Make sure you check out the official Red Sox ticket resale marketplace. It's at RedSoxReplay.com. Absolutely the best place for season ticket holders to sell their tickets when they can't make it to the game. Steve Lyons, Dave O'Brien, Garrett Austin from Houston, where the Red Sox are tied up with the Astros 1-1. And we're at the midway point, and Clay Buchholz rolling right now. He's set down 8 straight. And gets ahead on Balbuena, who doubled in the second inning. Jason Castro, the light hitting catcher, is on deck. Red Sox picked up ground on the Orioles last night as Baltimore lost. Red Sox now in second place at 8-8. Baltimore 10-5. Sox 2.5 games behind. Lifted foul out of play. Hayes Ticket is Boston's trusted source for Red Sox tickets with the best seats at the lowest prices, all with a 200% guarantee. Treat yourself and someone you love by visiting aceticket.com or call 1-800-MY-SEATS.
Baltimore with a losing record now since their undefeated start to the season.
Two and two. Well, the Red Sox appear on Sunday Night Baseball for the first time tomorrow and then head to Atlanta. So tomorrow late start. 2 games against the Braves there and then 2 at Fenway right after that. Outside to make it 3-2.
I gotta think there are other teams doing that 2-game set both home and away.
Sure.
I just think it's kind of odd that the Red Sox have done it 2 years in a row with the Braves.
After the Braves, the Yankees into Fenway for the first time. Down and away ball 4, so he lets Balbuena go. And that is the first walk issued by Clay Buchholz today. That leads off the 5th inning. Here's Castro. He grounded out in the second inning with a runner at third base and drove him in. And that tied up the ball game. He is 3 for 9 lifetime against Clay Buchholz. Sox have yet to turn a double play today after turning 4 in Clay's last outing. And that's a strike. Temperatures in the 80s today, Steve, here in Houston, and they decided to open the roof. Another strike.
Castro's a guy they're kind of still waiting on here in Houston. Has not produced the way that they hoped he would. Certainly the numbers right now are not good at all. Has trouble with pitches hard in. Clay's got to make sure that with him, if he goes inside, that ball doesn't fade on him, doesn't trickle out over the plate. Castro with no home runs on the year, but that's certainly his power area if you leave one middle in.
0-2.
Oh,
not sure where that missed. He said wide, I guess, but it looked like a really good pitch. Tom Hallion said no.
See, that's the pitch I'm afraid of right there. That's the pitch he's trying to go hard in on, and that sailed back out over the plate a little bit. Got called a ball, and Castro didn't swing at it, but that's a pretty good pitch to hit.
Out in front, he popped it up into right. Out goes Pedroia. Betts charging in. Mookie will take it right near the line. That's a fair ball as he hauls it in. So Buchholz gets him in the end anyway on a fly to right field. MLB.TV Premium is everything you've come to expect and more. You can watch every out-of-market game of all 30 teams in true high definition on over 400 supported devices. Visit MLB.TV for details. Here's Altuve. He's gone 1 for 2 with a single and a strikeout, caught looking last time up. Altuve, another guy like Dustin Pedroia, who is born to be a baseball player. According to the family legend, when his mom went into labor, his father Carlos was next door watching a baseball game in a stadium right next to the hospital. Come on over and watch your son get born.
Let me know when it's over.
You meant the game. You wouldn't miss a son being born.
He probably strolled over to check it out. Right. A couple seasons ago, he became just the second player ever to have more than 125 hits and 40 stolen bases at the All-Star break. The other player was Kenny Lofton. Imagine that. 125 hits and 40 stolen bases.
Ripped. A diving play by Shaw from a knee. Throws to second base and gets the out. He stole a single there from Altuve and gets him. Gets the runner. Valbuena at second base.
Shaw still has great instincts over there as far as slowing the game down. There's no way you get a double play out of this. You're just hoping that you get one out. But he didn't panic after he had to dive to make the stop. He's not going to panic before he throws the ball to second base. Just get up, collect yourself, and make a good strong throw. You're going to get the out. He always makes a good throw.
That's becoming evident. Good arm. Altuve becomes the runner and a threat to go immediately with Springer the batter. He has singled and grounded to short in a 1-1 tie. We're in the 5th inning. And now 2 down.
I think Buchholz really has to concentrate on Springer here. I believe that Altuve is probably going to run. I was surprised that he didn't. The only reason why he's not running, if there is one, is because Vasquez is behind the plate and he's outstanding. But this is a guy who runs on everybody. Everyone in the house knows he's going to go, and this is an excellent time to do it. But Clay shouldn't get preoccupied with him. Just make sure you get Springer at the plate.
And Altuve with 7 stolen bases. Gets another decent lead. He's not running. That's a strike. Buchholz keeping everything around the corners on the edges of that plate today.
It's been really good. Each time out, just a little bit better.
A 1-1 to Springer. Fouled away right to the netting behind home plate. And so Clay Buchholz is on top in the count, 1-2. Try to keep Correa in the on deck area and have him hit in the 6th inning. He's their number 3 hitter. A run on 4 hits for Houston, a run on 3 hits for the Red Sox so far. Here's the 1-2 home. Liner up the middle. Pedroia knocks it down. It rolls into center field, so Altuve can only go up to second base. Pedroia's actually ticked at himself that he didn't make that play. That would have been incredible.
Well, he knows he had full extension there, and he was wishing he was an inch taller, I guess. I mean, look at him right up the middle. Gets the jump, makes the dive, can't quite get there.
So a little trouble here for Clay Buchholz, 1st and 2nd, and 2 down for Correa. Well, Buchholz has gotten twice.
You know, we all grew up with that coach that said, well, if it hits you in the glove, you should catch it. And there are many instances where it can, in fact, hit your glove and you can't hold on to it. That was one of them.
Correa with a pop up to short and a strikeout. And he takes one inside for ball one. Last year, Correa played as the youngest position player in Major League Baseball. Clay's dad trying to get him out of this jam. Curveball, but inside.
Wow. Check out the location of that pitch. It just stays inside there. Clay's got to make a pitch. Vasquez is going to come out and talk to him about it, make sure they're on the same page. This is the biggest at bat of the game for Clay Buchholz right here.
And the Red Sox offense since the first inning has been shut off by Mike Fiers, the Astros right-hander. Valbuena, Springer, actually Altuve and Springer on the bases.
Be interesting to see what they do with Correa now ahead in the count. I feel like you'd want to stay away from his power like that.
2-1.
Excellent pitch. Don't come inside to a guy who can really turn on a ball. Stay away from him. Get him out in front a little bit.
Buchholz trying to keep it 1-1. 2 men out. And that one ran in and got him. He was hit by the pitch. It just grazed him, and that's going to load up the bases. So Correa will take first.
We talked about it before. If you're going to go in hard, you go in hard. And that ball just had extra movement running deep into Correa's kitchen there. What did it hit? His shirt maybe.
Yes. So the crowd comes to life one of the few times today here in Houston, and Colby Rasmus will step in. And the bases are loaded with 2 down. Buchholz has pitched out a couple of tight spots today. Has to do it again. Inside for ball one.
2 pitchers on this Red Sox staff use the word execution maybe more than anybody else. Buchholz and Porcello. Bucky really needs to execute his pitches right here.
Rasmus just 3 for 25 against Clay Buchholz. And Clay has struck him out 9 times. 1-0 pitch is down low. So 2-0. Now he has to throw him a strike. So it's Altuve at third base, Springer at second base, Correa at first base for the Astros in a 1-1 game. And Buchholz to home plate. 2-1.
That's a gutsy pitch right there. Yeah, the base is drunk. Got a 2-0 count. And a guy up there hasn't had any success. You know he's itching to pull the trigger. And you drop that pitch on him. Nasty. Again.
2-2. He doubled up.
Look at the action on this pitch. See you later. Starts at your belt buckle, ends up at your knees.
So what's he get now?
Be hard to go away from a pitch that you just threw twice and he couldn't come close to it. Either that or hard away.
It's a strike away from getting out of this. High fly ball right field, and that one's going to sail on out of here for a grand slam. He was oh so close to getting free of that, but Rasmus touches them all, a grand slam to make it 5-1. His 6th home run of the season.
Not where you want that pitch right there. Right down the middle.
And the bat flip from Rasmus. His 5th career grand slam. And that opens it up here for the Astros in the middle innings. He's on a 93-mile-an-hour fastball. And brings up Preston Tucker. So that lights up this big crowd. It'll be popped up toward the screen, and Vasquez will not be able to get to it.
You know, Dave,
no
matter what pitch you throw in that situation, if it gets hit, you made the wrong pitch, right? We saw him drop the 2 breaking balls in there back-to-back. Rasmus had no chance. A lot of people say, well, if you throw it again and he hits that pitch, you're like, well, you showed it to him twice in a row. Eventually he's going to hit it. My theory always was, if I haven't shown you that I can hit it, you better keep throwing it to me.
And the 0-2 pitch on the way to Tucker, who's 0 for 2. Missed in. And Clay upset with himself. I would say whether it's a fastball, changeup, curveball isn't really the matter. It was the location.
Yep.
1-2 hammered right to the feet of Hanley Ramirez in an easy play to retire the side. But Clay Buchholz gives up a grand slam to Rasmus. 5-1 Houston. This is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, and nothing to hide. The Red Sox with a lot of work to do thanks to that man, Rasmus with a grand slam moments ago to make it 5-1 Houston. As we move on to the 6th inning, Pedroia, Ortiz, and Hanley Ramirez trying to solve Mike Fiers. The Red Sox, since the 1st inning, have had 1 hit off the right-hander. And that was Pedroia's infield single in the 3rd. Ground ball past third. That's going to be a fair ball down the line. Chance at extra bases. He's heading for second. Bobbled out there by Rasmus. So in for 2 is Pedroia. And a good start here in the 6th. Right in front of David Ortiz. His 4th double.
Well, so far this season, the Red Sox have been the comeback kids, and they find themselves down in a game again. That's a tough pitch to hit down in the zone. Pulls it right down the line. This could have been a close play. Rasmus gets over to this ball very quickly, but then bobbles it. That enables Petey to just cruise into second base. And he got on that ball quick, but then couldn't pick it up cleanly.
Ortiz lifts a pop foul out of play to the left. David on the day with an RBI single and a fly out to left field. He began the afternoon at .337, career hitter against Houston. Mentioned earlier, he hit a home run in the All-Star game here in 2004 at Minute Maid Park. The year he won his first Silver Slugger, when he hit 41 homers and drove in 139 runs for the world champion Red Sox. He pulls that one low and hard but foul.
Look out.
Story in the Houston newspaper sports section today about David Ortiz and wondering why he's retiring.
Yeah. I think we're all saying the same thing.
He's down 0-2.
Oh, Con had a conversation with him about it the other day, and he just said it's not like I don't love the game anymore and everything around it, and obviously he enjoys the game as much as anybody who's ever played it, but he said it's just getting harder and harder to get to the point where I can keep doing it.
Yeah, it's the off-season preparation. The older you get, that's harder to do. Swung on and missed. That one disappeared, and down he goes. 1 away.
Now Fiers, after that first inning, has really been good, keeping the hitters off balance. Big breaking ball down in the zone.
Well, the shadows are starting to move in at this time of day. Right at 5 p.m. Houston time. Hanley has struck out and flied to right. Ramirez 0 for 2. He's 0 for 6 lifetime against Fiers.
Red Sox have to find a way to chip away at this lead. You have Pedroia out there at second. Got to score him somehow and then keep it going. You don't have to get it back all at once, but you do have to continue to score some runs.
Hanley lets it go past the elbow inside. It's 2-0. You really can't rely on Fiers to walk the ballpark. He's walked one man in this one. Walks are infrequent with him.
Hanley's going to come out of his shoes if he likes one here. And Hanley has no problem sitting on a breaking ball ahead in the count. Fastball up in the zone, stays off.
Well, this is a promising sign for the Red Sox. They're going to have bullpen activity. Will Harris, a real good right-hander, but love to see Fiers out of the game. He's allowed the Red Sox just 4 hits. Pedroia at second.
That's ball 4.
And he's on.
Didn't look like he really wanted much of handling there, did he?
No.
I can't imagine you'd pitch around a guy in that situation. I mean, I know you have the 4-run lead, but come on.
Never had a hit against him.
Hey, you're putting yourself in a little bit of trouble here now. First and second, 1 out.
Mike Fiers pitching line brought to you by your Eastern Lexus dealers. 5 1/3, 4 hits. He struck out 6 at 85 pitches, and yet they have the bullpen going. Travis Shaw is 0 for 2. He has struck out and grounded out. Is the door opening up here for the Sox as he takes high, ball 1.
Many times the sign of a tiring pitcher is when the balls start to sail up in the strike zone. You lose your release point a little bit. You start letting go of the ball before you want to, and that ball rises up in the zone.
Brent Strom, the pitching coach out there. And for improving your diet to the latest cancer treatments, learn all about stomach disease this month from experts at Beth Israel Deaconess Medical Center. Visit bidmc.org/yourhealth. 5-1 Houston. We're in the top half of the 6th inning, but the Red Sox with an opportunity now to climb back in the game. We had 2 men on and Travis Shaw at the plate. He's hit 1 home run so far this season. And a 1-0 from Fiers. Fouled back. He had a pitch to hit.
Yes, he did. Well, there's a lot of guys that will go to the plate right after a walk and after a mound meeting where you're thinking, all right, he had to just tell this guy, you got to get ahead. So I'm going to look dead red first pitch and see what I get. And I think Shaw got the pitch he wanted, just didn't square it up.
Blocked by Castro to make it 2-1. By the way, the grand slam that Rasmus hit off Clay Buchholz was the first that Clay has ever allowed in his career. On a fastball. Two-1 to Shaw. Liner over the leaping Altuve. Pedroia to third base. He will stop right there, and the bases are loaded up for the Red Sox now. And for Brock Holt. And here comes Hinch, the manager.
A lot of top spin on that line drive. Went down and dug it out. Still got it up over the head of Altuve.
So Fiers presented with a 4-run lead, but comes right back the next inning and allows the bases to be loaded, and he'll have to depart, and not happily, screaming into his glove. It'll be Harris, the right-hander, and Brock Holt with an opportunity to put the Red Sox right back in at this call to the bullpen, brought to you by Kia, and we'll be back with more in a moment. brought to you by Kia. Harris has been very tough. He's 0-1 with a 1.13 ERA, and they've used him quite a bit already, 7 times. So this is his 8th appearance. So Hinch really leans on him, and he's doing it now with the bases loaded. And Brock Holt will be the batter. Brock has the only Red Sox grand slam so far this season. Remember, in Toronto in a come-from-behind victory.
Yes.
And he'll have Dustin Pedroia at third base, Hanley Ramirez at second, and Travis Shaw just singled at first base. And only one away here in the 6th inning. Plenty of time for the Red Sox, who have made a habit of coming back.
Offensively have not looked good since the 1st inning, but then when you seem to put their back against the wall or put them in a deficit, they come back to life. They got a chance here.
High ball 1 on Brock Holt. He had an RBI single last night. He is grounded to the pitcher and struck out in this one.
And the shift continues to be on for Holt. 3 infielders on the right side.
Two 2-0.
Talked about Holt and how patient he is as a hitter. As soon as we said that last night, he swung at the first pitch. But he is not a guy you want to face if you're having a little bit of a control issue with the bases loaded.
The 2-0 from Harris. And he takes ball 3. All almost in the identical spot. So Brock will be sitting on another one. He'll be taking here.
He might step a little closer to the plate, crouch down a little bit more than normal.
The 3-0 and right through there. So now a great count for the man who's driven in 10 runs this season.
When
base is loaded.
The other team's in a shift. It puts a little bit of a different perspective on the base runners too. They have to worry about more players on the right side making a play on a ball.
3-1. There's a swing and a fly ball left field, driving back Rasmus on the run to the track. He makes the catch. Pedroia will tag and score. And the Red Sox are on the board for the first time since the 1st inning. Brock Holt drives in his 11th. And his folks are delighted. Now 5-2.
Holt going away from the shift, trying to drive the ball hard into left field. Just gets that one off the end a little bit. Rasmus makes a pretty good running play back by the wall.
Runners on at first and second. Stephen, the batter will be Chris Young.
Would have been a lot more fun to see that one drop in somewhere out there.
For Brock Holt, too. He'll take the RBI. Chris Young has struck out twice, and he's had his bat on the shoulder both times. You really sense for Young, this is a very meaningful moment in his season as he's scuffling along at 150. He has driven in just 1 run. But to keep this inning rolling would be gigantic for him. He takes a strike. Get another RBI up there. Get a little bit closer. 1 for 2 against Harris, and that one is a homer. Shadows becoming more prominent. That's a ball. Just a little bit low. So 2-1 on Young. There are 2 out. Hanley Ramirez at second base. Travis Shaw at first. Jackie Bradley would be next. Would not chase, and it's 3-1. Fires departing. That last run was charged to him.
Harris clearly doesn't have his good control. He struggled in counts. 3-1 again. Fell behind a hold. This has got to be put on a tee for you if you're young.
In there for a strike. So the count is all filled up. And again, Young has struck out twice today.
Got him on the outer half of the plate in the previous at-bats.
Runners go, and that one hit sharply, but down toward Valbuena. He steadies and throws to get him to retire the side. So the Red Sox, despite loading them up, get the only one run in the inning as Pedroia crosses home. And it is 5-2 Houston in the middle of the 6th.
This game progressed early on. The Red Sox swinging the bats. Big Poppy driving in a run. On the Astros side, just a fielder's choice drives in their first run, and then the big blow. Grand slam later on.
It was by Rasmus off of Clay Buchholz, who goes back out there for a 6th inning. And he'll have Gomez, Gonzalez, and Valbuena for Houston. They're on top 5-2. In for a called strike.
Seems to me many times with Buchholz, when it starts to go south, it happens quickly and loudly. Big grand slam there in the 5th. 5th and 6th innings, generally the tough ones.
Well, the hat comes off on the big swing. Clay Buchholz pitching line brought to you by Ace Ticket. Only one walk, but that's how that 5th inning started, as he walked Valbuena. He also hit a batter in that inning. Got Correa on the shirt. Gave up an infield single to Springer. And a grand slam to Rasmus. First of his career allowed by Clay Buchholz. Jim Palmer never gave one up.
Always gave up solo shots. He said, I don't care. I'm going to give up a lot of home runs, but you're only going to get one run out of it. And my offense will beat you.
Fouled back by a big cut from Gomez. 5 runs on 6 hits for Houston, 2 runs on 5 hits for the Red Sox. Sox have left 5 men on base.
Got to get Gomez out on his front foot. He's acting very comfortable in this at-bat with some huge hacks.
And again, the helmet comes tumbling off the head. He can't keep that on there.
We should ask Hanley how he figured it out. Check this out from the side there. That's like a pool cue ball right there. Hit it right off the end of the bat and lost the helmet.
Buchholz looking to strike him out. Spoiled again. The righties 1-2. Breaking ball and a foul ball almost got Gonzalez in the on deck area. And we mentioned this before. There's so little room between that on deck circle and home plate. So you have to be on your toes.
Dugouts are actually very, very close to home plate too. So there's just not a lot of room to get yourself ready to hit.
Here's the 1-2 to Gomez again. And again, pop foul back this way. The swing before that almost nailed the man in the on deck area, Gonzalez.
Almost got him twice.
Gomez being pesky is 0 for 2 today.
Oh.
And Buchholz did not get that strike on the 10th pitch of this at bat. He thought he had it.
That was awfully close. This is a pitch that you want if you're a pitcher, especially after this at bat. The guy keeps fouling pitches off. I finally throw something up there nasty and I don't get the call.
This is his 100th pitch, and that's in there for strike 3. And he will take a seat. One man out. Attention Red Sox fans. There's a reason why the Boston Red Sox and the rest of America run on Dunkin', because Dunkin's iced coffee is consistently smooth and delicious. Dunkin' Donuts coffee, starting right here in Boston, is the #1 coffee in New England. The Boston Red Sox run on Dunkin'. It's Tommy Lane getting going in the bullpen for the Red Sox now. Is Marwin Gonzalez, who has survived that foul ball his way in the on deck circle. He has bunted his way on, and he has struck out. It is 5-2 Houston in the last half of the 6th inning here at Minute Maid, with the roof wide open today. Indicating bunt again, but he takes a ball. Noe Ramirez, the right-hander, is joining Lane now. Down into the dirt to make it 2-1. Toronto has already won. They beat up on Oakland 9-3. The A's are actually playing very well. They had won 6 in a row in first place.
That's surprising.
It is. Cross for a called strike. White Sox beat Texas 4-3. The Yankees won. They nipped Tampa Bay 3-2. Baltimore and Kansas City play later. Yankees right now in the basement of the American League East. Two balls and 2 strikes on Gonzalez. And he won't go after it. So it's a full count. See how much longer Clay goes if he walks him. Does have a lefty hitter in Valbuena on deck, and Lane is loose.
This could be his last hitter if he walks him. Could be his last hitter regardless.
3-2, a high fly lifted to right. That's well struck. Racing back, Mookie Betts. Racing back, Jackie Bradley. The leap and a catch, and Mookie hauls it in. Nice running play for the second out. Time now for a game break, brought to you by Jordan's, the furniture store of the Boston Red Sox. And here's TC. Good for one inning. Except for the one.
And it always comes 5th or 6th inning, and then he just gets blown up.
Tommy Lane, there is a bar. Today you will hear from the Celtics as they reflect on their Game 3 victory and look ahead to Game 4 tomorrow night against the Hawks, plus highlights from all the playoffs. Essence Sports Today presented by People's United Bank. See what know-how can do. One note on Clay Buchholz. He gave up a grand slam, first of his career today. There are only 4 other active pitchers who have faced as many batters as he had who have not allowed a grand slam, and on that short list is Kershaw of the Dodgers.
Kershaw went like till last season until he gave up a home run to a lefty.
Right. Right now, Clay Buchholz, the pitcher of record, so he's shocked he gave up a granny there. Tommy Lane coming in for his 5th appearance. Two down here in the 6th inning, and Valbuena, the batter, trying to bunt his way on, pops a foul. A lot of bunt attempts.
Some bunting fools, aren't they? It is. Everybody's bunting. Boy, this was a great play by Mookie Betts out in right field. You really love having athletic outfielders like the Red Sox have with Bradley in center, Betts in right. You have Young out there in left, but normally Brock Holt. But look at that play. He ran a long way, wasn't exactly sure where the wall was. Some tricky little corners out there in right field. But sometimes when you have two very athletic outfielders, it can be more difficult to play the outfield, and I'll explain that. A lot of times you have a center fielder and then you have two corner outfielders that are known more for their offense than their defense. So the center fielder knows, I got to get everything, and I will get everything. But with Mookie being equally as athletic as JBJ, there's a time there where they're not sure who's going to be able to get to it or catch a ball. And when they both can get there, that makes the communication more difficult and far more important.
And they've had a couple of moments this season, not many, but a couple where that communication is still being evened out.
And Mookie knows that if JBJ says anything about that he wants the ball, it's his ball. He's the center fielder.
Valbuena has doubled. He's also walked in this one. Right now hitting just .222, 5-2 Houston. In the 7th inning, the Red Sox have due up Bradley Vasquez and Mookie Betts.
When I played center field, I used to try to make it simple for my corner outfielders. I would tell them that every ball hit is theirs. It's your ball until you hear me say something. Then it's mine. And there's no questions. And it's a simple way to do it, and it gives control to your center fielder. But it also allows the other outfielders to feel like they can go get what they can get.
Well, the count runs full on Valbuena. Certainly a home run threat for Houston. They're trying to snap a 4-game losing skid. Castro on deck. And Lane fires. And he walked him. Hard to believe, but we're almost through the first month of the baseball season. Be sure to know when the Sox are playing. You can download the season schedule directly into your favorite calendar program by visiting NESN.com/schedule. Castro 0 for 2, but he did drive in a run with a ground out in the 2nd inning that brought in Gonzalez, who had bunted his way on and eventually got to third base. And that tied it. Red Sox had scored the first run. That made it 1-1. Inside ball one. Well, of course, the huge hit in this one was the grand slam by Colby Rasmus in the bottom of the 5th inning off Clay Buchholz. Clay was 1 strike away from getting out of that bases loaded situation. Fouled back at a big rip by Castro.
Tommy Lane had one job here. He came in, he knew he had the potential to face back-to-back lefties. He definitely has to get one of them out. Finish off this inning.
The Washington Nationals won again today. They beat Minnesota 2-0. They're now 13-4. What a hot start for the Nats. Check swing, and it's in there for a strike on Castro. See what the commissioner said the other day? Bryce Harper is the face of baseball.
Well, certainly one of the best players in the game. Do you say that to a guy so that he'll stop ripping his own sport?
I think he's trying to promote his own sport. That one is in there for strike 3. So a runner will be left at first base. We go on to the 7th inning. Red Sox need 3 to tie here in Houston. New Charlie Moore Outdoors. Charlie visiting the Berkshires, and he learns some tricks about fly fishing. He also takes a tour of the world famous Red Lion Inn. Catch all that and more on Charlie Moore Outdoors tomorrow night at 7.
I thought Charlie knew everything there was to know about fishing.
He does.
But he learned new tricks?
Apparently.
So you can.
You can, yes. That line. Pat Neshek coming out of their bullpen with a funky delivery. Hard to pick up.
Had some pretty good success with that funky delivery.
With Houston last year, appeared in 66 games. And the year before with St. Louis, 71 games with a 1.87 ERA. He's been around a while.
It's almost like he's winding himself up and then short arms the ball.
As you said, quite effective. Jackie Bradley swings and pops one foul. Jackie trying to get on a roll. He's 0 for 2 today. He has grounded to second and fly to right field. So the average pushed down to 231. Vasquez on deck, and then Mookie Betts here in the 7th. 5-2 Houston. Red Sox winners last night 6-2. And a cut and a miss, and he goes down hacking.
That's a changeup right there.
The 2016 CVS Health Charity Classic features more than the nation's top golfers. And don't miss the Classic benefit concert that features Lady Antebellum at the Dunkin' Donuts Center in Providence June 28th. Get your tickets at Ticketmaster.com/Charity Classic Fenway. Vasquez 0 for 2. He's grounded to short and line hard to right. Between the 6, 7, 8, 9 hitters in the lineup today, the Red Sox do not have a hit. And Vasquez is 0 for his last 13. Remember the first game he came back, he had 2 hits. That's a strike.
This delivery from Neshek's much more difficult to pick up if you're a right-handed hitter.
Lined up the middle, and that'll get through for a base hit. Sounded like he may have broken the bat. He'll take it.
Yes, he will.
So the Sox with a base runner. Stay tuned for Red Sox Final presented by Plainridge Park Casino. TC and Jim Rice preview Henry Owens' first start of the season tomorrow, and highlights from around the AL East.
And look at the fact that the Red Sox have scored just 2 runs today, and we talked about how devastating this offense can be to an opposing team. And it's because you get contributions from up and down the lineup. And as you mentioned, that's the first hit out of the back half of the lineup, the last 4 guys. One of the reasons why they haven't scored any runs.
Mookie Betts with a tapper. Neshek throws off balance. Got him on to first. Not in time. No double play. Mookie beats the wrap at first.
That play just set up just a little bit too slow to be able to get Mookie to double him off. Have a high chopper. Neshek did his job, got it into second base nicely.
Dustin Pedroia working on a 3-hit day. They have not retired him. He has walked and he singled and doubled. That average now 319. You get the idea watching Pedroia. He is at the start of a hot streak. Off the edge for ball 1. 7th inning, 5-2 the Astros. And if it ends like this, Mike Fiers will get the win and Clay Buchholz would take the loss and dip to 0-2. A ways to go yet. That's a strike. The left-hander Tony Sipp is active. Their bullpen was a big reason they went to the playoffs last year.
A lot of very effective guys out of that bullpen. Sipp was one of them.
2-1. Ortiz would be next. Red Sox pen has Noe Ramirez and now Tazawa. And Noe looks ready.
Normally down 3 runs, you might not be thinking about stealing a base, even with Mookie Betts, but I don't think Mookie can really pick up the motion of Neshek. He's fairly quick to the plate.
Not running, flared foul.
And you don't just run to run into outs. Castro, a pretty good catch and throw guy. If Neshek had a big leg kick or something, I wouldn't be against the attempt just because you're down 5-3. This is an offense that can get you back into it. Petey and Ortiz would love seeing somebody standing at second base right now with a chance to drive them in.
Xander Bogaerts out of the lineup. In case you missed it, last night was hit on his right wrist by a pitch by Luke Gregerson late in the game. He's very sore, but the x-rays came back negative. He is available today. There's a ground ball, weakly hit on the infield, charged by Correa, off balance, got him. Very smoothly done for out number 3. No runs, a hit, 1 man left. Still 5-2 Houston here in the 7th. Nesson is brought to you by Southwest Airlines. Transparency, low fares, nothing to hide. By high quality Scion vehicles by Toyota. And by the wonderful folks at Sullivan Tire and Auto Service. Steve Lyons alongside Dave O'Brien, Garen Austin with us as well. To the bottom half of the 7th inning of what has been a beautiful day here. But on the scoreboard, the Red Sox are down by 3 and will bring on Noe Ramirez in 8 appearances, which seems high. He has an ERA of 6. He's allowed 10 hits in 9 innings and 6 earned runs. But gets another opportunity here. He'll have the top of the order and the very tough Jose Altuve to lead it off.
There's no question this bullpen's going to be called upon to throw some zeros up there and give the Red Sox offense a chance to get back in this thing. Can't afford to have many more base runners and runs.
Clay Buchholz, the starter, lasted 5 1/3. He had 1 bad inning, and that was the 5th, and he allowed a grand slam to Colby Rasmus. First grand slam of Buchholz's career. Fans, you can help Nesson by taking a quick 2-minute survey and enter for a chance to win a VIP Nesson experience at the park at Fenway on June 16th. Visit Nesson.com/survey. You can do it right now during the game for your chance to win.
Just seems like Buchholz needs to find a way to get over the top of that 1 bad inning, 5th or 6th inning, that he usually runs into and can't get out of. Now Altuve is 1 for 3 with a single.
Reached on a fielder's choice in the 5th inning and came in to score. He was on base when Rasmus clubbed his grand slam into the stands in right field. The hits are even at 6. Floated toward right center, slicing over Betts. He dives. He can't get it. It gets by both outfielders. Altuve takes off for second, rounding. He's heading into third. Pedroia's throw. The tag. He's out. He never slid. He never slid. He assumed he was going to be safe. What a gaffe that is. Pedroia really embarrassed him. And Altuve is a terrific player. Hears it from the crowd here. Why didn't he slide?
No reason not to slide. I don't know what was going on down there with the third base coach as well. Now you might see a challenge on whether he was safe or out.
Altuve now coming out of the dugout. I would have to think Altuve wouldn't have left the diamond that quickly if he felt he had a chance to be safe. This one right between the two, between Betts and Bradley. Mookie recovered pretty quickly though, and Pedroia never gave up on it. He turned and fired.
Oh, I don't know. He looks safe anyway, doesn't he?
Boy, he's pulling up. No, I don't think so. I mean, Hallian was right there. He couldn't have had a better angle. That's awfully close.
Really close, and that's going to be one of those. If they believe it's that close, it'll be inconclusive.
I'll say this. I think he's a wonderful player. He doesn't deserve to be safe.
Well, we had the same situation on the stolen base at third base the other night. Or you don't deserve to be safe when you try that. When Springer tried to steal third.
Now that is really close. Hallian rung him up. Take a look at the third base coach.
That's what I'm wondering right there. What's he telling him? He's just basically he's telling him stand up on the bag. That's what the third base coach is saying.
That's Gary Pettis.
And you know that. So we're looking at Altuve and we're saying that's a big, huge mistake on his part. And there are very few times when you actually need the help of your third base coach. That's one of them. And Pettis was standing right at him saying, get on third base and stand up. He didn't tell him to slide, so that's as much on Pettis as it is on Altuve.
Watching again on the big board here. If they reverse the call, they'll go from booing him to cheering him.
Dave, remember earlier when we were talking about the problematic outfield when you have extremely athletic outfielders, and that was a case right there where both players were going to try to go catch the ball.
Boy, that's close. And they are going to rule him out. So they've come back with the ruling. And Altuve is out. Now, given what the third base coach did, what he didn't deserve to be safe.
I agree with you. And give credit to the Boston defense there, where both the outfielders, Betts and Bradley, both dove for the ball, then both hustled up, got it in, and Petey with a great relay throw because he didn't believe the play was over.
One man out. We'll see if it makes a difference. The Red Sox would love to think so. Relay on the money.
Betts gets it, doesn't even have a glove on his hands. Watch Petey. That is an outstanding relay. Turning his body sideways so that as soon as he catches it, he can throw it. He doesn't have to turn and throw. As a relay man, like Petey was on that case, you have time to read the throw to you and get yourself in position so that you can turn your body in a way so that as soon as you catch it, you're throwing it. Not catch it, turn around, and then let one loose.
It was instantaneous. In there for a strike. Mookie without the glove, which Mookie he had lost in the dive.
Dove for the ball, lost his glove, picks it up, and then you can see how Pedroia already turned and squared up to making that throw. You don't complete that play unless you do it that way.
It was a laser throw. Big swing and a miss by Springer. He tried to tag that one 400 feet. He's had a good day with 2 singles.
It's a good play on words. That was a laser throw from the laser shot.
Picked up on that.
Yeah.
You do pay attention. 5-2 Houston, 7th inning. With the leadoff man out and tag foul. Another look at that relay.
Yeah, one more time. I just think it's important. Watch Pedroia catch and throw all in one motion, and he moved his feet to his right so that he could position himself that way.
Now, is that all on Gary Pettis, or is some of that on Altuve? And I know that your point is he's got to look at his coach, and his coach is telling him get to the base. He's not telling him to slide. There's no slide motion there. But is any of that on Altuve?
I think, you know, my dad would tell me there's no reason not to run hard. Always, every time.
Yeah.
Run as hard as you can into third base. Slide into third base.
Inside for ball 4. Forget about whether he told him to slide or not. That's definitely an issue, but he didn't run hard all the way.
No, he pulled
Pettis
up.
isn't telling him to pull up. He's telling him to get to the base, but he's not telling him slow up on your way.
Here's Altuve, the whole play. He's not really running all that hard right there. Now he sees it get through. Now he's going to turn on the Jets. Now he knows he's going to be safe at third. He looks up at Pettis, and Pettis is saying, on the bag up. And he slows down. He really, if he's going to stand up into third, he does have to slow down in order to do that. Can't run full speed and then just stop on a dime at third unless you're going to slide.
So you're putting it all on Pettis?
No, I'm not. I agree with you. I think that there's some of it on Altuve. I don't think he ran hard out of the box either. But you see Pettis right there, pointing at third. You're on third. Get on the base, and you're up. That's what that means with the other hand. And if I'm the runner, my tendency would be to slow down. If I'm watching you and you're my coach and you're saying on the bag up, I'm going to slow down until I get there.
Oh, that took a wild hop off into left field down to second baseman Springer. And Correa's aboard. So everybody's safe. And getting some pretty good swings here off Noe Ramirez again. Here comes John Farrell.
Now he's had a tough time fooling guys lately.
Correa with a base hit. So that'll do it for the right-hander. He got fortunate that Altuve was out at third base. 5-2 Houston. Back with more in a moment. The matter here in the 7th inning. And it could be worse had Altuve not made that base running mistake, or Gary Pettis, his third base coach, coached him better. Cut down at third base. Roenis Elias will come out of the bullpen, just promoted to the big league club. He was with Seattle last year at 5-8 in 20 starts with a 4.14 earned run average. You see his numbers with the Paw Sox to this point. And Elias will get the man who did the most damage in this game first, and that is Colby Rasmus, who blasted a grand slam in the 5th inning. 1 out, runners at first and second. Red Sox trying to hold, Steve.
Rasmus got a chance to do some damage in this at bat as well with guys on base.
Ooh. Inside, ball 1.
Well, that's exactly what we talked about, Dave. You're in a situation here where it's this late in the game and you're down by 3. You cannot give up more runs.
A strike at 76, right at the bottom of the strike zone. The left-hander from Cuba delivers, and that'll drift down and away for a ball. He was acquired along with Carson Smith in the Wade Miley to Seattle trade last December.
Was very much in the mix to make this ball club out of spring training. Had a couple of rough outings late that kind of knocked him out of contention.
2-1 to Rasmus. Wouldn't chase. And now Elias has to throw a strike, or he loads the bases with Tucker on deck. Rasmus had 2 strikes on him when he belted that grand slam in the 5th inning.
On back-to-back curveballs from Buchholz, and he made him look bad. Then he threw that pitch.
Well, Clay knew it immediately, and so did Colby Rasmus. Way into those bleachers. That made it 5-1. The Sox have scored a run to make it 5-2. And now Houston's threatening again, and it's ripped foul. Rasmus pretty aggressive.
And that would be the definition of a big looping breaking ball, wouldn't it be? If you're a left-handed hitter, that curveball looks like it's coming from first base.
Springer at second, Correa at first for Houston. And the count 3-2. Here it comes, and he walked him. So the bases are loaded again for the Astros. And Tucker is next. Time now for a look at the road ahead. It's presented by People's United Bank. And for the Red Sox, 1 more to come in Houston, 2 to Atlanta, and then the Sox are back home again. They're going to bring up a right-hand batter in Evan Gattis to hit for Tucker. And he will do so with the bases loaded. Gattis off to a very slow start, coming back from sports hernia surgery. Missed all of spring training.
There's nobody throwing in that Red Sox pen, so it will be lefty against righty. Elias against Gattis.
And he will call out Vasquez. Gattis lived quite an odyssey after high school in Texas to reach the majors. He was headed to Texas A&M, but he never attended. He was terrified at the prospect of playing big-time college ball, so he basically spent 3 years roaming the western United States, performing all sorts of odd jobs. He was a cook, a janitor, a valet, a ski lift operator. And he's been very open about his battle with drugs and alcohol at that time, but eventually he beat that. Went back to junior college, got drafted. He starred in the Venezuelan League, caught the eye of the Atlanta Braves, and 7 years after quitting baseball, he made Atlanta's opening day roster. He checks and it's in there for a strike.
He's gone back to catching more too. They've been working him out behind the plate. Kind of got away from that last season. Led this team in home runs and RBIs. right now because of the injury, the hernia surgery.
Bases loaded. He flares a foul to the screen.
He has not been productive in his time back. What do they call him? El Oso Blanco?
That's what they call him in the Venezuelan Winter League.
The big white bear.
Springer, Correa, and Rasmus filling the bases. 1-2 pitch. Down low near the foot. Astros 5, Red Sox 2 in the 7th.
Well, you need something nasty right here. Find a corner.
He did. He strikes him out. And a huge second out here in the 7th.
There's that looping curveball that we talked about. Look at the arc of this thing. Whoop. Pitch track didn't like it.
Tom Hallion did.
I don't know if they got him on a swing or he liked the pitch.
I think it was the pitch.
Yeah,
I do not believe it was the swing.
He was quick to call a strike 3 there, as if he was calling the pitch a strike.
Carlos Gomez now. So Elias not out of the woods yet. Gomez is 0 for 3. Wrapped at third base. Shaw handles that. The force play retires the side. Elias with some good work out of that bullpen. 5-2. Sox are still in it. Oakland's first choice for value and convenience. And for every Red Sox home run this season, Speedway donates $500 to Boston Children's Hospital. Stop by a Speedway store near you and pick up your Speedway rewards card and start earning points today. Well, that one could have gotten away, but Elias did his job. Got a couple of big outs to get out of that jam. The Red Sox are trailing 5-2 and facing Ken Giles now as the right-hander comes out of their bullpen. High ERA, Steve, at 6.75.
Al Giles is the guy who loves to throw a slider. Tons of them. And if they don't break, they get hit.
David Ortiz, first man to get a look at him. Poppy today 1 for 3 with an RBI single. Sox scored right away in this one as they have been trending, but did not score again until the 6th. David has gone 0 for 2 since the base hit with a fly to left and a strikeout. Hanley Ramirez on deck. Travis Shaw after him. But growing late here in Houston, Texas. Giles becomes their third reliever, and that one flared toward right center. The right fielder is deep, and he can't get to it. It bounces up in front of Springer. Playing very deep, so Ortiz is on to begin the 8th inning with a single. Monday at 6, don't miss Red Sox first pitch, presented by Joseph Abboud. It's available at Men's Warehouse. TC and Tim Wakefield will preview the Sox first interleague series of 2016 coming up against Atlanta. Hanley's been pretty quiet today. A strikeout, a flyout, and he's taken ball 4. Sox would love him to make a little noise right now. We had a big fly. That'll be ball 1.
Go inside.
Hanley, 368 lifetime against Houston. He has 71 career hits against them. Shaw on deck. It's unusual that the Red Sox would face the Astros, not light up the scoreboard.
Yeah, they've been used to it. Still time in this one.
1-1. Hanley looking back at Tom Hallion. Tom has an emphatic ring up third strike, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
I fear for his back. I mean, he must keep that chiropractor busy.
Invests a lot of money in that.
2-1.
And we don't want to see that move here over the next few minutes. Not in this half of the inning.
Red Sox trying to rally with Ortiz on with a leadoff single.
Hallion's been at it for a long time, and I wonder if he regrets. That's kind of his trademark move. You know, he probably started doing that when he was a young man.
Yeah.
Now it probably hurts a lot more.
You establish it, you got to stick with it.
I got to keep going.
Big cut and a miss. 2-2. What do you think now as a hitter? The shadows have moved out almost to the pitcher's mound, right there at the cut of the mound. Who has the advantage there?
Well, if you're a big believer in that phenomenon, I'd still see, you know, it's always advantage towards the pitcher.
In there for strike 3.
Wow.
So Hanley fans for the second time today caught looking.
There's the slider we were talking about that he loves to throw. And you can check out Tom Hallion. Look at the strike 3 call from Hallion. Beep. Ouch.
He kind of, you know, went soft shoe on that.
Yeah, he did. That wasn't emphatic.
Getting late.
He felt bad.
Travis Shaw 1 for 3 with a single. So you're not a big believer that the shadows dictate any advantage.
No, I'm just not. I hear it every game, every time there's shadows. I will start by saying I think it affects something. I mean, it's a little more difficult to hit than if there are no shadows, but I have never once seen any.
High fly into left. On the move, Gomez, and Rasmus reaches up and makes the catch right in front of him on the warning track.
I've never seen any statistical data that shows me that you don't score when there's a shadow on the field. The shadows were starting to creep out when Rasmus hit his grand slam. There's been scoring in this game since. I think it's overplayed. I will say that I would rather not have to hit in the shadow, but I never felt that I wasn't going to get a hit because there was a shadow on the field. I didn't notice that much of a difference.
You never felt like you had difficulty picking up a particular pitch because of it?
Nope.
Here's Brock Holt now. Brock has gone 0 for 2. He did drive in a run in the 6th inning with the bases loaded. Sacrifice fly.
I do know that I'm in the minority thinking that way because everybody talks about it. But like I said, show me some data that says nobody scores any runs when there's shadows, and then maybe I'll put some credence to it. But I see games all the time where The guys get more hits when they're shadows.
You know, logic dictates that it does have an effect, because anything that changes a hitter's comfort level, and I would think a baseball, you know, moving from one light to another would definitely do that. Tried to hold up there and did not look good doing it. But you don't buy that at all.
No, not that I don't buy it at all. Like I said, I think there's a degree of difference. I just don't think that difference is effective enough for me to say, oh, I can't hit.
Not a profound difference.
Yeah.
I would think just a little bit, though, is enough at this level. You know.
Well, it's not easy to do, period. Hitting.
1-2 is inside. Some guys, like we've seen Rasmus today, will hit with the sunglasses on. Do you ever do that?
No. I'm surprised that guys do that. Wade Boggs was one of the first guys that I saw do it, but he worked with some of the sunglass companies to make the bridge in the glasses smaller so that he'd have to look through that. But yeah, I don't understand guys. I mean, you talk about a distortion. There's definite distortion looking through the glasses.
2-2. He spoiled it.
Guys don't seem to worry about that very much. You see a ton of guys use sunglasses. Now they use sunglasses just playing the outfield instead of flipping them down when a ball comes to them. You never see flip down sunglasses anymore.
No.
Other guys wear the sunglasses on the top of their hat just to look cool.
Giles with a 2-2 to Brock Holt. He checked his swing and fouled it away. Chris Young on deck.
So I guess inadvertently I'd use that as my best argument. I don't think the shadows make a big difference, but there are so many guys that go to the plate wearing sunglasses, and there's no question that the sunglasses create a distortion looking through the lens, and they don't care about that.
Ortiz at first, and a line drive base hit past the diving Valbuena. Ortiz up to second, and Brock Holt is aboard, and Chris Young had come out, and now they're going to pull him back. It looks like Rutledge is going to come up, and indeed Josh Rutledge will bat for Young. So he will pinch hit as the Red Sox try and climb back in it. It's interesting, you've got a right-hand pitcher. Young is a right-hand hitter. He decides to bring in Rutledge,
who's
another
a right-handed hitter.
Yeah. And Brent Strom, the pitching coach, is going to head on out to the hill, probably with a scouting report on Rutledge. And that will give David Ortiz an opportunity to chat with two of his favorite people, Correa and Altuve, out there at second base. Red Sox trailing 5-2 in the 8th. The hits are even now at 8 after the base hit by Brock Holt, which makes him 1 for 3. Tomorrow at 6:30, don't miss Red Sox Game Day Live, presented by TCU. The guys will be previewing Rick Porcello's start against the Braves. DCU Digital Federal Credit Union. What can DCU save you?
Well, Rutledge hitting for Young here. Obviously, there are no lefties on the bench that aren't already in the game, but clear sign from John Farrell that he'd rather have Rutledge up there hitting right now than Young, which is not a good sign for Chris Young.
Chris 0 for 3, 2 strikeouts and 2 caught looking. Line shot, and that's a fair ball down the line. It strikes the short wall. Here comes Ortiz in to score. The throw to second, a slide, he's safe. And down to third is Brock Holt. Red Sox on the board again. That makes it 5-3.
I'll tell you what, there's not a lot of Red Sox fans that even know Rutledge is around here, but every time he shows up, he goes out there and gives you a good at-bat and drills a ball somewhere. He's pretty good coming off of the bench.
And just as you said, this is a great call by John Farrell to bring him up here.
Yeah, he had more confidence in Rutledge right now than he has in Young, making that at-bat.
So now the Red Sox have the tying runs in scoring position for Jackie Bradley, who's had a very silent day, 0 for 3 with a strikeout, a flyout, and a groundout. But he could tie this thing up potentially right here with 2 down in the 8th inning. And a high fly ball right center toward the alley. Springer giving it a run, and he'll make the catch. And that will do it. The Red Sox will have to settle for the 1, but they get a little bit closer. Now 5-3 Houston. To you by Xfinity. For Clay Buchholz, 5 2/3 today. Gave up a grand slam for the first time in his career. Fiers went 5 1/3 for Houston. Rasmus with that grand slam. And Springer is 2 for 3 with a run scored. The Red Sox are still hanging around, though. A couple of changes. Brock Holt will move from short out to left field with Young now out of the game. And Rutledge, who just ripped that double, is in at short. The left-hander Elias will continue to pitch and face Marwin Gonzalez here. He has singled, struck out, fly to right, 1 for 3. So we're in the last half of the 8th inning. 5 runs, 8 hits for Houston. 3 runs on 9 hits for the Red Sox. Jackie Bradley just flied out with runners at 2nd and 3rd. And that one is stung on a line. On the move, Brock Holt to be tested. He can't get it. By him, it's going to go all the way to the fence. Gonzalez rumbles into 2nd with a double. So he puts himself immediately into scoring position for Valbuena.
Once again, you're looking at a situation where the Red Sox bullpen puts themselves in trouble by adding more base runners.
Valbuena on the day has not made an out. He has doubled and he's walked twice. Shows a bunt and went after it and fouled it away. He indicated bunt just about every time today.
I know. He and Gonzalez.
You see Elias pitching from some shadow, which Steve Lyons does not believe in. Ramirez ready to charge.
I think it's made to be a much bigger deal than it is.
He held up. Red Sox have Tazawa in the bullpen. He has to be warm by now. Another lefty hitter on deck. And Castro. That's a strike.
We were talking about last inning. Rutledge comes off the bench, drills a double down the line that scores a run. Gonzalez comes up, drills a double into the left field gap, all in the shadows.
Rutledge has 3 hits for the Red Sox this season, all of them doubles. Toward the alley. That one's going to split the outfielders and go all the way to the warning track. Knocked down by Jackie Bradley, but another run is in. And a big run indeed. Back-to-back doubles. Valbuena's second of the day. That makes it a 3-run game. So now 6-3 Houston.
Can't do it. This is a team that the Red Sox are a team that can come back and they can chip away, but they can't do it if the bullpen's going to continue to give up base runners and runs.
Another lefty hitter now, Jason Castro. He's 0 for 3. Although he did drive in a run with a ground out way back in the second inning. He checks, and that's wide for a ball. The Astros attempting to snap a 4-game losing skid. Red Sox took game 1 here. And tomorrow is the Sunday night game. The last game on the schedule in Major League Baseball on Sunday. And the Red Sox will be heading for Atlanta, getting in the wee hours of the morning. And these guys, Houston, they're going to Seattle.
Yes, but they pick up time.
They'll get in about 5 or 6 in the morning.
Terrible.
Breakfast in Seattle. Red Sox will beat them by a couple hours if they're lucky in Atlanta.
Seems unfair to do that to players. You're asking them to go out and play their best, and yet you don't put them in the best situation to do it.
Across for a called strike. We're in the bottom of the 8th inning. The Red Sox have due up in the 9th. Vasquez, Betts, and Pedroia. They're going to have to make some magic again. There's nobody out in this inning. Hammered right there to Hanley. Takes a look at third base, but now has to get the out at first. That will advance the runner Valbuena down to third. They have their closer going, Gregerson. They got him into the game last night because they hadn't seen him in a while, just to get some work in. He wound up drilling Xander Bogaerts on the wrist. That's why Xander's not playing today.
Clearly he did need the work.
Infield in now for the Red Sox, and Altuve the batter.
Hopefully that's just a one-day situation for Xander, and he's back in the ball game tomorrow night.
Altuve with a couple of hits, a single and a double, but rather embarrassingly was gunned out at third base in a perfect relay by Betts and Pedroia when he tried to make that double a triple. Embarrassing because he almost wound up walking into third base. He slowed up so much, and he was tagged out by Shaw on a terrific throw from Dustin Pedroia. But Gary Pettis, the third base coach, played quite a role in that because he never told him to slide and told him just take third base. You're there. Well, he wasn't. The play was reviewed and upheld as out on the field. Here's the 0-1. Fly to right center field. That's going to be plenty deep enough. Jackie trying to get it, and he won't. It's onto the warning track. It bounces into the bullpen for an automatic double, and the run is in. That is the third double allowed by Elias in this inning. Now, for a little guy, the ball just jumps off his bat.
And he's a guy that's smaller than Mookie Betts. And we talk about the power and the way the ball jumps off of Mookie's bat, but this guy's even smaller. Excellent player.
We'll go back and look at that relay play, which the Red Sox executed perfectly there on Altuve.
That's Betts chasing the ball. You see the relay that he gets in, and look at Pedroia with his momentum already going towards third where he's going to make the throw. Quick step and a throw, and then Shaw was decoying a little bit like he wasn't even going to get a throw. Pettis telling Altuve to stand up. Now, the more I keep thinking about that play, the more blame I put on Pettis. Altuve can't see what's going on behind him. If he's going to go in standing up, he definitely has to slow down in order to do that. You can't run exactly full speed until you stop. And so he had to pull up a little bit just so he could stand up, and his third base coach was telling him to stand up.
George Springer now has been on base 3 times today. 7-3. The Astros have opened it up now here in the 8th inning. Springer with a single in the 1st inning, an infield hit in the 5th inning, and he took ball 4 in the 7th.
I think if you look back at that play, it was the quickness and accuracy of Pedroia on that play that caught Pettis sleeping a little bit. Like he just assumed it was going to be a stand-up triple. Didn't think he would make that throw.
Little tapper. Pedroia quickly onto first base to get the out. Altuve will advance with 2 away. And I think you're probably right in the grand scheme of things. They were just caught by surprise by how good Pedroia was.
Yeah, I don't think Pettis thought that he would even make that throw. Thought he'd just cut it off. He's like, hey, you're going to stand up here at third. You're fine. Cut off. And he turns and fires like he did. Caught everybody sleeping just a little bit.
Although I'd love to hear his explanation after the game.
There will be one.
2 down. Correa, the batter, hit by a pitch and singled in this one. Pitch that grazed his jersey in the 5th inning. And just moments later, Colby Rasmus would get in the box and he would hit a grand slam, which was the big moment of this game, off Clay Buchholz. Runner at third base, 2 down, and a couple of runs in to make it 7-3 Houston. They're trying to even this series, which will end tomorrow. Now they've got Josh Fields throwing in their bullpen, so Gregerson, no longer a save situation, has sat down. And the Red Sox are going to put on Correa. So this will be an intentional walk. They'll be on at first and third. And that'll set up a lefty-lefty with Rasmus. So there it is, ball 4, an intentional walk. And this has been a long couple of innings for the Red Sox bullpen.
Now, once again, you're in a situation where you're losing the game and you don't have the opportunity to use your back end of your bullpen pitchers. And so you have one guy out there that's just going to wear it.
The Red Sox will have Henry Owens on the mound tomorrow. He's in Joe Kelly's spot. He's been promoted back to the big club up against right-hander Scott Feldman at 8:05. Line shot to right, and that's going to bring in another run for Rasmus. Altuve scores, maybe more than that. They'll hold the runner at third base as the throw comes in. An RBI double. Big day for Rasmus as he has just driven in his 5th run. And Elias kind of taking one for the team here.
Yeah, because there's nothing going on out there. He's, as we said, he gets to wear this one. It's a nice day for Rasmus. Another ball out over the middle of the plate. He hits it hard. A lot of RBIs today.
Now 5 of them, runners at second and third. Now 8-3. So the Astros opening this up. Gaddis struck out back in the 7th inning. That was with the bases loaded. And he's up again, the former Atlanta Brave. Got jammed there. Shaw handles the chance and will gun him down to retire the side. But runs keep on coming. They get 3 in that inning. And now 8-3 Houston. Going and get some runs on the board, but they're down by 5. Josh Fields, a right-hander, will be their new pitcher, trying to lock this one up and snap a 4-game losing skid for Houston. Vasquez will lead it off, then Betts and Pedroia. Christian with a base hit his last time up. He's 1 for 3. And the first one to him is right down the chute for strike 1. A win for the Astros, and they tie the series up at 1 game apiece.
Obviously, with Henry Owens being called up to pitch tomorrow night's game, that's going to require a roster move. And got to think it's going to come out of that bullpen. And Elias, who pitched today, not very effectively, certainly might be on that list. Noe Ramirez did not throw the ball well today either.
Mookie Betts swinging in the on-deck area. He had a single in the first inning and scored the Red Sox first run. First 3 Red Sox were on base. It looked like it was going to be a repeat of last night. Up the middle, there's Correa to his left behind the bag. 1 man gone. And Mookie is next, coming up for his 5th at bat. He came into the game today hitting .467 against the Astros. And now hitting .276 for the season. And leading the club in runs, hits, triples, home runs, and RBIs. And that'll be strike 1. Big overshift on the left side as Altuve, the second baseman, moves over. And the shadows are playing absolutely no role right now in this one. High fly to center, but not deep. Gomez plenty of time to saunter in. 2 down, 2 away in the Sox ninth. And Pedroia next, making a bid for a third hit. He's walked, singled, doubled, and grounded out to the shortstop. And nothing new for him having a good day against the Astros. A .418 lifetime average against them before today. And he's 2 for 3. Crowd here remaining on hand, and they want a victory. They have not seen one in a little while. 4 games.
Pedroia continues to be an all-star caliber player whenever he's healthy. Had some stretches over the last few seasons where that has been an issue for him, staying on the field and staying healthy. But when he is, this is the guy you get.
Fields with a 2-0 and a strike. 94 miles an hour from the right-hander. So 2-1 on the Red Sox second baseman. The Sox have been out hit 12-9. And the let-up pitch finds the mark to make it 2-2. So the Sox are down to their last strike. Ortiz on deck, hopeful of getting up there one more time today. He has 2 hits. Crowd wants it to end right now here in the 9th inning. Cut on and missed, and that is how it ends. The final score 8-3 here today as the Astros end a 4-game skid and they knock off the Red Sox here in the second game. It's all even at 1-1. So that's the story here from Minute Maid. TC 8-3 the final.